Musk wasn't he PayPal?
Yes, he is part of the PayPal. He's the richest member. But
Welcome to another episode of the ZED101 PODCAst. I won't tell you what we do here. You should know by now. Our guest today is Masawa Joseph Mwenya. He's got a Catholic name. I don't know the idea behind him being called Joseph. But my lovely co-host, who is also in black like me, Malama, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Yes.
No, she's not good. I pissed her off. Now, we're going to fight when everybody's out. If she pins me down, you guys won't know.
The fight will be on TikTok. TikTok live.
On TikTok, she'll win. She might win. But yeah, let's talk about the one interesting thing known as artificial intelligence today.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Our guest, Joseph Masawa Mwenya, runs a company called Contaire Technologies, and he's at the forefront now trying to work with the schools in the terms of education, trying to be a pioneer with a product called Scootable.
Attempting to be a pioneer in this thing called Scootable before the government or some minister hijacks it. And says, we've been doing very well with this, and we've supported this young man. You know how they do it. It would be our seminal moment if they did that.
Yeah, and then obviously, Malama will be invited to go and cut the ribbon. She'll be dropping F-bombs. They were not even there when we brought in. Yeah. But yeah. Musa, welcome to Z101.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, good. So do you want to give us a little background about your company, Contaire Technology?
So we're basically a technology company in Zambia, and we build systems for business support. And one of the systems we are developing now is in relation to education. So it's called Scootable. And basically it's supposed to be a platform that helps the educator and the student and the institution create a more efficient way of delivering education.
Okay.
Yes.
So in the background of all this is the terminology artificial intelligence. I am not as good at this kind of stuff as Malama is. So, Malama, can you hammer him with why artificial intelligence? Are we ready for this?
I think let's maybe just shift back a little bit,
Okay.
right? So there's nothing wrong with having built things previously with what we deem as artificial intelligence.
Okay.
It's just become more of a term that we use because in essence, all of it is the same. We are using machine learning.
Yes.
We used machine learning 10, 20 years ago. You know, all the items that equal what would be deemed as part of artificial intelligence has always been there.
Yes.
And what we have currently is this thing called generative AI. So if you give something information, it gives you an answer or a response back. And what we've got at the moment is you can get a response as text, you can get response as pictures, or you can right now get videos.
Okay.
But all with a basic prompt, let's say.
Yeah.
So what we want to get to is an understanding of if we're doing work now, computer-based work that includes artificial intelligence or educational-based work that includes artificial intelligence, how is the artificial intelligence improving the current educational system that we have in place?
So first things first, I like that you said machine learning. So internally, we don't generally like to use the phrase artificial intelligence.
Correct.
For several different reasons. Internally, we don't believe our technology is intelligent yet, or anything that's available publicly is intelligent yet. But what we can do right now is because of the generative capabilities, right? is that we can get the system to learn about a particular subject and create and generate a response very particular and specific to that student, right? And their learning patterns. So essentially what our platform will allow us to do is it will allow us to continually assess the student and continually allow that student to get feedback while at the same time giving the primary educator that feedback. So if a student has got a problem with, at a low level with mathematical questions that have a 9 in them, the system would notice that this child has a problem with multiplying or dividing with 9. So in the past, you would just be kicking in the dark. Maybe a child is getting this question wrong, but you would know then that, okay, the problem is actually, the root cause is actually she doesn't understand the concept of threes. And so then the teacher would go back and reinforce that knowledge. And then that builds the student from the bottom up.
So let's go back a little bit as well. I think we're diving straight into the problem solving.
Okay.
But let's go back in terms of what got you interested in the educational side, and then the move now to make it like the AI ability to deal with that problem, let's say. So how did you get started with the educational side, and what projects were you working on that kind of brought this out for you?
So originally we were, I love football. So originally we were coaching kids. We were offering sort of free coaching, football coaching for underprivileged kids. And I started to notice that even though some of the kids were older, their reading and math skills were very, very basic.
Basic.
Yes. And so that's what caught my interest. And then we started trying to see how can we build a solution. And so we started testing. And at that time, generative AI was just beginning to build some legroom, right? And so we decided to test how we could create a system that helps this stretched education system we have at the moment, and then try to give a high-class education to underprivileged children. So the goal is to get the platform to reach the underprivileged and also to make it affordable.
But you say the goal is to get there, but now before you even got there, because you've gone from you saw the problem and then you've got the solution. What happened in between?
What happened in between is that I had a discussion with one of our partners, Edward, and he brought out the idea to say, look, there's this, we can begin testing with generative AI. And we started with reading classes, right? So we said, okay, can we get the platform?
So you actually held reading classes?
Yes, we actually held.
So where was that and how did that
So
come about?
we at our offices, we started, what we started doing is that we set up a studio, not as nice as yours, but we set up a studio, and we met a teacher called Catherine. We interviewed a teacher called Catherine, and she educates children who have disabilities. And so she has, I think she has a degree as well in psychology, in child psychology. So she gave us great insight, and she's been, or she had been teaching children online for a number of years, I think 10. And so she gave us great insight into how to tackle that, like reading problem and where to go. So she was our first case, and she basically gave us the technical side on the education. And so we matched that with the skills we had internally, and then started to build the platform from there.
So how did the idea start to evolve, like to get to that end vision? When you started, obviously you're just learning and trying to understand the problem that you're trying to solve for. But then what's your idea now? What's the goal? What are you trying to move to?
So at the moment, we're working with a school in Chanda, and we're setting up a center. And so that becomes our first, that will become ground zero, our first launch site. And so we are working with the councillor in Chanda, and we're working with some of the head teachers from some of the schools there. And so the goal, we should be launching in May. And so the goal will be to get that center for kids to, one, to enhance their normal educational routes. That's your O-level route, right? Like your 1 through 7, their math, their reading. But at the same time, we want them to develop the soft skill, right? The tech soft skill for the next workplace, right? Because we are really behind with the soft skills. And so how do they interact with artificial or machine learning? How do they prompt, right? How do they get it? How do they match whatever skills they want to have after grade 12? How do they match that with the AI? How does that enhance? How does that enhance their research tools? So we're also going to be having some science fairs, right? And we're going to focus on, well, computer or IT projects surrounding AI, but for kids.
Okay.
And so we hope to match those two skills together.
So starting with the school in China, what do you see growth as? So moving from the schools or the existing educational establishments, how are you seeing that grow? So like you said, this is China, but if someone is watching from Mansa and they
Yes.
want to be a part of the program, what could they do?
So eventually we will be rolling out as a direct-to-consumer service, but right now we want to deliver it as a B2B.
Okay.
So we want to deliver it to the schools first, and then we're going to have...
But that's what I mean, if a school in Mansa wants to be a part of the program.
No, then we're happy to deliver that. We'll manage that process. Of course, we have to do a little bit of research so that we know exactly where they're located, what's their internet capabilities, and all those things. And then we make an assessment, and then we find a way to deliver it. But we definitely will, especially now with Musk and his and his platform. I mean, virtually anywhere in Zambia you can have.
So you mean Starlink, yeah?
Yes, yes. I didn't want to mention it, but fine. No, I'm joking.
We'll mention anyone. You can always pay us after.
Yes, so
Yeah.
with Starlink, fortunately, but also even our telecoms have generally a good reach nowadays, right? So a lot of the countries can use their phones. So we will do an assessment and then speak to the head teacher and the proprietors there and find a way to deliver it. We will deliver it to Mansa if it's a B2B. So if we're delivering it to a school, but we are not yet open to the direct to consumer. What we found interestingly is the universities are more interested in the platform. So what we do is that we, when a school signs up, if they don't have a website, we build the platform behind their website, and so their users, their students, their teachers associate with the platform as, for example, if it's Chanda School, then they'll associate with the platform as Chanda School. The people who associate with the platform directly as Scootable will be the direct-to-consumer users.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, am I clear? Okay, great.
Okay, I need to take both of you back.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is the issue of, when you talk about AI, the issue of transformative and generative. Where are we as a country in terms of that? Because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about AI, like you know. We had a minister launching this thing. I don't know if you attended it a few months ago, but I don't know what
was
the
that,
general...
sorry? What?
The minister, there was an AI launch
Okay.
by the Minister of Technology and Science. But
Just the AI strategy.
yeah,
for Zambia.
We are easily able to use the word AI in order to be, updated or to be in the know, that I know what's going on. So where are we generally understanding the meaning and the application of transformative? Because you spoke about generative one. Are we there yet where we can compare nicely and say the country understands this?
So essentially, publicly, what any task, right, that was naturally done by a human or is associated with a person and now is processed through some form of computational system is generally called AI. So that's number one. So the term AI can be thrown on a wide variety of automated tasks, right? But in particular in Zambia, right, we first of all don't have the skill set, right, for a mass rollout. We don't have the human capital trained, right? We don't have the data scientists. We don't have great data centers, at least yet. So
we don't have the funding
yes,
to build
we don't have
such huge infrastructure as well.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
In fact,
is it a funding thing or application of what we have, resource application?
It all is the same thing.
Because if you look at, and I'm being the devil's advocate here, if you look at the cost of a Land Cruiser VX, okay, it's benefiting one person basically,
100%.
a few individuals. The NVIDIA chip is $40,000, huh? I think at the very least. So if you buy 25 of those Land Cruisers VXs, as opposed to investing in a pilot project where you invest that kind of money in that kind of power of computing, it will be a start from somewhere.
It's not as simple as that, but
yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, she hits the nail on the head. It's not as simple as that. I think the number one thing we need to do is let's figure out the skill. Let's show up the skill set, right? To redirect funds in Africa to something that seems as mundane as artificial intelligence is very difficult. You have to have someone in government who's basically speaking and is really passionate about that particular aspect, right? Because
let's just say also skilled. We don't have the skill levels.
yes, of course, of course, yes.
So if we get there, you know better. What level of skill? She's gonna throw in a spanner. This one, I know her. What level of skill? If you look at members of the Computer Society of Zambia, I mean, what do they do? What's the advocacy level from those guys? How much are they pushing in order for us to go this side?
I mean, for me, it's very difficult to make an assessment because, like, when people are speaking, right, they speak what seems to be very passionately about the subject, about computers, about getting the right skill set, pushing for the right skills, right? But when you look at actually what we're doing, like as a country, to prepare ourselves for that, it doesn't match. So if you're looking to find for someone who will say the right things, we'll definitely have someone who has been saying. But we need a plan that's matched with the implementation, right? But I think the first place we need to start is the skill set.
Can I jump in on that as well?
Yeah,
just to
go
add
ahead.
to that. So what we don't consider here, okay? So what's happened is, let's take Zambia, and I want to just simplify the explanation. Suddenly, in our vocabulary is entering these words, AI.
Yes.
AI.
Yes.
And we're just like, Finshi. And so now we have this high level view, right? Maybe if you're quite into it, maybe you watched Open AI's presentations, you watched Gemini's presentations when Google was showing us what exactly they have produced, right? What we're seeing is their end product.
Yes.
What OpenAI, what Gemini, what DeepSeek, what Gawk, all these people have been working on has been going for the past 10 plus years.
It's been a build.
It's been progressive.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing now is probably 5-10 years behind where they actually are. I don't know if you know, but there was a lot of speeding up of releasing of
The generative
systems
end, yes.
once DeepSeek went live. Right?
Once ChatGPT went.
No. After that. So
Okay.
yes, once ChatGPT went live, and then also
After DeepSeek.
when DeepSeek went
Yes.
live, and I think there's another one that's come out more recently. Because what they're seeing is actually everyone's had a different level of progress, but they all want to be market leader. So what does market leader mean?
Yes.
Now, that's the end game again, right? Now step back, and I say to you, what did you say? Association of what? Computer
Society of Zambia.
Society.
Computer Society of Zambia.
Okay. What projects from 20 years ago have we been working on
That
based
are
on
live
artificial
today?
intelligence,
Yes, exactly.
based on machine learning? What projects do you see? Where do you go to UNZA and say the computer sciences have been building XYZ for the past 20 years? Do we have that in place? How many people in UNZA are studying computer science only on artificial intelligence? So we do not have the skills and the capability to even start from scratch to build something. Because also, UNZA itself, like something that maybe also another thing that people don't realize, when Bill Gates built the first computer, he used his university's computers.
Yeah.
The capability was at his university. He was a young kid. He didn't have the capability. Who today, as a young kid at UNZA, can build a system like Bill Gates built at that time? They are still basically learning everything. So we don't even have the capabilities. We don't have capabilities, skills, finances. So how can we actually build something that you can say it's going to compete with DeepSeek, it's going to compete with Gemini? We're nowhere near there. So effectively, all we are in Zambia
Is a consumer.
is a consumer.
Yeah.
You come to me and you say, here's generative AI, and I go, oh, thank you very much. So kabamba shanaka. So nala shashani apa so. And then it's like, okay, what's America doing? Oh, okay, we'll do the same.
Yeah.
We haven't gone, you know what's really missing in our country is this area. That's the problem. That's what we need to fix.
The danger is you skip the learning component.
We don't
and
have
you get
that.
straight into consumption.
Correct.
That's what the problem
That's
is.
right.
And
So,
also,
but you can't. I think just jumping there, you can't control the consumption, and that's what I'm saying. The consumption, it's okay, right?
no, I don't have a problem with that. What I'm saying is the danger, according to what you've said, is lack of skill, lack of knowledge, lack of the desire to push from the authorities and the powers that be. We skip the learning process, and it's easier for us to consume directly. Because even our new phones now, if your phone is not AI capable, it's no longer anything worthy of having, isn't it? And they're updating all that stuff. So doesn't that leave us in a situation where I don't need to learn?
Sorry to interrupt you. I really want us to also highlight that bureaucratic piece, the government piece, and how much the government restrains progress in this country.
I'll tell you what he said. The Minister of Technology and Science says AI will enhance public service delivery, ensuring efficiency, convenience, and elimination of redundancy so that we are able to grow the economy quicker and faster. That's his understanding of what AI will do. Now, what we've spoken about is the understanding, the backbone behind it is not there.
No, we don't have.
But a document has been signed and launched.
So anyway, I believe that whatever the government will be doing in that direction will be aligned with what, I'm not sure if you're aware of Smart Zambia.
Everybody's aware of the not so smart Zambia.
Yes. So I think
Semi-smart Zambia.
I think smart.
Mediocre Zambia.
We're not going there.
Sorry. Carry on.
I think Smart Zambia will be the key institution in leading Zambia as a country onto that path. Whether they are ready to do it is something else. Because again, unless what Zambia is going to become is basically a consumer at government level. To begin developing from scratch, it needs something more intentional, like at the very basic level, because like we've established, we need the skills. We don't have enough data engineers.
Yep.
We don't even have a tier 1 data center is out of the question for Zambia.
You've got Infratel.
A tier 1 data center. A tier 1.
Did you see how he just decided to brush it off?
A tier 1 data center is out of the question. But I think the government, as a start, can start enforcing the human capital or building the human capital, right, to get us there. If government is going to immediately start using AI-capable tools, then basically government is accepting that we'll just be a consumer even at a national level. Now, the problem with that is that strategically in the future, as AI becomes more synonymous with our life, we will become even more dependent on Western direction in terms of AI.
We already are.
Yes, we are.
We already have been for a long time.
A long time,
You know?
The difference between how we do things is this here in Zambia. We are excited about launching the AI strategy. The little country called Rwanda is hosting the global AI summit. You see what the difference is?
I think you also have to be careful, right? I think Rwanda could also be, I mean, Rwanda is definitely ahead of us, ourselves, but Rwanda is also hasn't built its internal capabilities to any significant scale, right? So when you look at the whole of sub-Saharan Africa, the only countries that have some capability are Kenya and maybe South Africa, right? Sub-Saharan Africa. In North Africa, closer to the Mediterranean, you may have like a Morocco and then Algeria.
We got Morocco and Egypt as,
yes,
as
and Egypt.
runners.
Yeah, and Egypt as well.
Yeah.
So, but this side of the equator, we are really, we have nothing to write home
I want to
about.
add to what you're saying. What we're also missing is there have been a few times when Elon Musk, because obviously he was one of the early days of OpenAI, and there were times when they were holding interviews and then holding meetings with the people that were going to be working on the AI for the release of OpenAI. What I noticed, because I got hold of the footage and everything, everybody was white.
Yes.
Everybody was white, American, whatever, you know, like there was no black person in that game. So it doesn't matter whether you were north of Africa or south of Africa. We are not on the football pitch with these people.
No, we're not.
So invariably, everybody is late to this party.
We're not in that league.
Yeah.
So the other countries might have slight advantages, like Nigeria may be a little bit faster than us because they can quite easily jump in and say, oh, but what can we do? You know, they have better infrastructure that can then add on to their infrastructure.
Definitely.
They have better people who are involved in Silicon Valley. They have slightly more numbers of people who can then be a part of it. But we don't have any of that. We are literally, the football pitch is uko and tuletamba fipa satellite. It's like when you guys watch your Manchester United and you're wearing your shirts and you think you're part of it.
No, but
you are not part of anything.
I am a Liverpool fan.
You want to win this argument.
The reason I'm winning is because all you do is watch on TV.
No,
shout up at TV, but you have zero other input into the game.
My football
My
club follows
money,
me.
my jersey
It
has helped the team grow.
Zero input into the game.
Let me add something to that. The issue of you're in a room and it's all non-blacks.
I think also we have to be comfortable with not being invited to the table. I think that's what my opinion.
See, I have a divergent view because they don't invite me, but they want me to consume.
Wait. You're not invited. You're not even in question.
No, you're not.
They don't know anything about you.
So
There is no consideration of you.
I'm not arguing with that. My point is that once I realize that they want me to consume,
Yeah.
Yes,
but
of
they
course.
don't want me on the table.
But
I
even-
need to take a
Wait.
position.
But
even
in
their
the
consumption, right?
Yeah.
They don't.
You're not part of that either.
They don't really care about us.
Because you're
right?
not the one who's paying.
Because we are not a consumption that's a cash cow.
Yeah.
Okay?
We've got no financial contribution
We are a
towards
bland
that.
consumption.
Then if you're saying that, what's driving you to access AI, to give access to AI at a very, very young age? Okay. What's driving you?
Because I've got a different strategic vision from ChatGPT.
From the government.
Well, from
So
from the Western AI developers, and I've also got a different cost profile, right? So my ability to get a 2 kwacha per Zambian, right, is different from the cost profile from an AI company that's in Europe or in China, and so they have a different strategic vision. The number one thing you have to understand is, let's just look at language, right? All the generative AI, right, is English, right? It's essential.
See my argument. Remember my argument.
Right.
I'm like, we're gonna be behind again.
Yes.
Well,
But listen. I'm going.
Okay,
I'm,
not behind again. We're already
we
behind.
weren't even invited.
Wait.
We're still at home in
Wait,
bed.
right?
There's a okay.
Yeah.
You try.
Let's start there, right? Already, there's the language,
Yeah.
the format language, right? But beyond the format language, when we come back to Africa, how many of our languages are formally digitized? Which is something we can do at almost every university, right? So we have to, yes, there's a place where we're not invited, but there's a place where even the things that we can do right now, we haven't done well. So it's like you have to.
But why do you think that is?
I'll say even the way we ran our tertiary education, right? Someone once said that the future is in a PhD thesis somewhere. I don't know if that's true for us.
Sure.
Who is that? Who is she?
know.
Because the idea of the saying is, right, in 1984, 1974, somewhere there, someone in Japan had a PhD thesis, right, on self-driving cars.
I remember that story.
Right?
Yeah.
On self-driving cars. So we have to be intentional. Even when we award our higher level qualifications in Zambia, people have to be adding to the body of knowledge, right? And we need more people digitizing our data, not only for consumption.
So my question then is, who's going to pay for that?
It has to be us. It has to be us.
Government has no, what is it they say? Funds are limited.
We've got money.
Have we?
We've got money. Wallahi.
But
You know why we've got money? There's no cabinet minister who's not driving a very expensive vehicle. Prioritizing is where the problem is.
100%.
And you know, the subject of us discussing mediocrity, it falls in line exactly with this.
Yeah.
okay.
So I think what we're trying to drive at is there is money, but do they value that program of digitizing your language?
Yes.
Who cares?
Who-
Does anyone
yes.
in government care?
Yes, but it's not only about digitizing, but it's also ensuring accessibility. But the other thing is
But
that
once you digitize, then you give
Then you
access.
can-
It's
then
the
you-
same.
it's the same.
Well,
Yeah?
it starts with that.
Exactly.
When it's
Yes, exactly.
digitized, it's going to be
Either way,
accessible.
who is
Yes.
authorizing the project?
Do we even have the right person behind this?
behind it, yeah. I also think the private sector, ourselves.
Oh, now you're passing the buck.
No, I'm not. I would never pass the buck. Trust me.
Let him shoot himself
I,
in the foot.
yeah, no, I think we also have to like take some responsibility as well, right? The private sector, there are direct benefits, but to digitizing language, even for the banks, for example, right? So even with our established institutions, our established large blue chip companies, right? We allow them to take the low-hanging fruit, right? Because there's a benefit to a large bank having a digitized Zambian language. There's a benefit to the breweries having, right, a copy of that digitized language. There are so many avenues, but we have allowed our private sector to take the low-hanging fruit as well. So it's a twofold problem. Government as well historically has not looked too far ahead, right? Because some of the strategies in other countries, right, like we would hear a lot of our politicians say, right, they've had a strategy for 20, 30 years, right, on a particular subject. We need to give our institutions a little more power to govern themselves and create strategic direction.
Not a little.
Yeah.
They have to have power.
Yes.
Because all that government, what I have seen is that because government sees itself at the top of everything, it is in fact the biggest weakness that we have in this country.
Yeah,
it limits every area and every field with the bureaucracy that it's applying into everything. Right? Now, it's like just because the government is giving the money to UNZA, then UNZA has to answer to the government. The problem is, then what is the point of UNZA? How are you going to create the next generation of AI developers or whatever's after AI? Because we're looking at AI, in America now, Pusha, they're on to the next thing. In 5 years, we'll be told what the next thing is after AI. Right?
So, yes, again, that's the challenge, because when the thought leader is supposed to be independent. So like maybe that's one as well we need to look at. Is UNZA truly independent?
100%.
Yeah. So but like
will UNZA ever be independent?
But I think there's a way in which we've allowed our private sector to take the low-hanging fruit, especially when they're a blue chip company in Africa and particularly in Zambia. So I think they should
but they are coming to make the quick buck. Everyone wants a quick buck.
Yeah, but even
look how much the mines invest back into the country since 1964 independence. How much money has the mines invested back into the country?
In CSR, right?
When they strip everything in an area because they want to mine in this area, and then they remove the population of that area, and then they build you the basic of basic homes wherever 20 kilometers somewhere else.
And they never do anything else.
Exactly.
That would be the.
So what have they reinvested into the country that you could say us having mines is definitely valuable to this country?
Yeah.
It's just taxes. What else have they done?
Exactly.
Well, I have a divergent view. You can have taxes and all that, but if the leadership is crap, you collect all the tax you want.
Yep.
The leadership is crap. They're failing to assign resources to the right avenues of use. It is a problem.
And I think that's why when we don't want to be a company that's particularly looking for a government contract, right? Because we want to be able to tailor a product and products, right? That can create economies around them without the government. And I think when you look at our private sector in Zambia, a lot of times when you look at where the buck is coming from, you end at government somehow. And that's why if government is delaying payment, you find that the domino effect it's a whole long list, and it's actually a very big disadvantage. Government is the largest employer.
Yep.
Government is the largest contractor. Government, and it's true. as well in other countries, but the
Yeah.
extent here, we are too dependent on this institution.
Not even
that-
dependent, we're crippled by it.
yes, we are too
You know.
dependent.
Triple is good, but yeah.
But just to add to that point of the government position, it's also good to look at, if you look at when Facebook and TikTok and all the social media companies were called to the Senate and they were questioned about what exactly are you doing? And you know, when there was a whole like you're spying on the people and government doesn't understand what the private sector is doing, right? But in America, it doesn't stop you from doing it.
No, it doesn't.
Right? TikTok, there was threats. TikTok is going. Everyone panicked. Everyone moved from TikTok. Has the story even come back up again? We were given a 90-day reprieve on TikTok. It's been more than that now.
No, but the guy realized that he was going to make a bigger mistake by shutting
Who is
down
the guy?
TikTok. The new guy in America. So
Trump.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the
but-
idea for him was,
No,
how
my
do we
point-
change the
I-
ownership?
I think you have to. I think Trump is infantilized, right? And so, in public, I don't think he ever has a fully formed thought. Not like I'm being 100%.
No, I 100% agree with you.
I don't think he ever has a fully formed thought, because what it looks like to me is like in the private sector, right? When he was his own and he answers to himself.
Which he still wasn't. He still had a team behind
Yes.
him.
What I'm
Trump
saying is that
doesn't know
he would say something, right, ridiculous, and then
Someone else solves
somebody,
the problem.
you say, no, you said, boss, I think. Now, the problem is when you have 200 million people, 300 million people
320 million.
listening to you,
Yeah.
right, or more, because America is basically, if we were to pick a government of the world, and we're being honest, right, and we don't want to pretend, really, they're the world's police force, right? So whatever happens in America affects far more of us than just the
Well,
American
let's say
population.
influencers rather than police force.
I would use the word police force as well. Because, I mean,
Yeah, well, I don't care what you use. Let's just listen now.
yeah, so when he says something or does something, they are correcting in post. So when you hear him, like remember when he had the chat and was like, America has got the has got the worst education system in the. He didn't have the context, right? And so he came up with the word. It's something world, right? He just formed something that didn't make sense, right? And he tabled it right there. Then his people now have to say in post, this is what he meant,
What he meant
and try
was.
to cue it up.
Yeah.
Right?
But they did the same for Biden. You know,
No, of course, but
that's part of the whole process. Look,
There's a
the
component
leaders
of politics.
do have minimal information,
Yes.
but Trump is just particularly bad at all of this,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes.
And we get that. But let's go back to the point, what I was trying to say is, in America, there was a period where the government had zero understanding of what, you know, the big, the FANG companies, what they were actually doing, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. They didn't really know what they were doing. So what they were trying to do, use bureaucracy to restrain them, right? And what I'm saying is in Zambia, that's exactly what they do first. First, it's bureaucracy, right? You cannot do this, you must do this, you must pay these large sums of money. And then how can little old you, your company, even try and make something big when they've already put some big limitations on? But if Google wants to come to Zambia, Google can afford to pay those fees like this, and Google will advance further than you
Quicker.
ever could,
Yeah.
because you don't have the capabilities and you're too busy running around after this minister, that minister. That's one of my irritations here. I had a friend of mine who's trying to do a digital project, and for 5 years he's been running around having lunch and dinner and what with the ministers to no avail. So what is the point of these ministers?
So my angle with that has been that for now, I think as a private sector,
As Contaire.
as Contaire, I think we're going to have to do what we can, and we'll fight with whomever we're fighting with. Because if you're going to be told, right, by this big ball and chain, we can't afford it, right? Because if government is bringing in regulation that doesn't allow for innovation, I mean, we are going to remain at the same level. But also, I think for a long period of time.
Let's to that point. Do you remember when websites came?
Yes.
Okay. Are you telling me that our website building capabilities in this country have far surpassed where they were? If I told you that I was on a government page the other day and I got a 404 page.
Yes. Well.
Why?
Lore ipsum.
Still.
Yes. No. Yes. I mean.
So my point is, if we can't even advance on the basics of how to build websites, if people in this country don't really even know what search engine optimization is, how are you going to build AI capabilities in this country? That require significantly more investment, significantly more manpower,
technical, yes.
significantly more skill.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's why I'm saying, when you look at even the number of people we work with, right? The guys who are good are a few subset of the total population. And of course, in IT, there's a really bad reputation built, right, on overselling, right? So it's a chicken and the egg, right? In my opinion, I think with the government, it's very difficult to progress if you're going to wait for government. But when you're on the brink of success, right, the government will show up 100%.
Oh, they'll be there
100%.
opening and cutting ribbons for you.
Yes,
We knew you could do it.
Yes, 100%. So,
We were right behind him the whole time.
Your counselor.
but he's been part of it, so
No, and that,
so
to
they'll
be fair,
use
yes.
him. Yeah, they'll use him. Yeah, but
No, they'll surpass him. They'll
Yes.
jump over him.
they'll jump.
They'll
Yeah,
do
but
it.
he's been.
Paside versa.
Yeah, but he's been a part of us, and the thing is, and that's why I think sometimes we also have to look for. A lot of times in Africa, we get into things we're not passionate about. And when you get into things that you're not passionate about, when it gets hard, it's easy to clean up your degree or your what and say, back to the workforce. Yeah, so within Sama, he already has a passion for kids and he helps that community a lot. He's helping with addiction, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so I think he already has that passion. So to bring him along was quite easy. Yeah, so, and I think, like I said, I think with government, in a lot, not only in Zambia, to be fair, you have to be already at the brink of success for them to really to come in. And
You've got to have paid for it.
yes, or you have to have paid. But see, to them that's success. If there's a lot of money coming from somewhere in that direction, then they'll definitely jump onto it. Yeah, but
Okay. Do you want to tell us more about what else you're doing in terms of day-to-day survival?
So for example, right now we'll be launching a product for property owners. Yeah, so that will allow the direct linkage of homeowners and prospective property
Buyers.
buyers and renters, and the platform will allow them to pay online as well, and to automate receipts and invoicing, and allow people to advertise their properties.
So who are you targeting? Are you targeting if I want to rent out my property?
Yes.
Okay. What about if I was a real estate agent and I manage a lot of properties?
Yes. We're accepting those as well. I think the real estate agents will form, because when someone brought it to us to build, the problem was that Facebook has been the primary
Engine that they use. Yeah.
Yes, and the problem with that engine is that it's very easy to have scammers, right, on Facebook. So that's why you have so many people getting scammed.
But that's why you have Zia, who's, you know.
Yes, yes. But Zia, you know, I actually not sure if someone fought Zia in court that they would win. Right? Because no, I'm telling you.
No, I agree. That's why I'm laughing.
So I don't know if Zia has more back than bite. But I mean, maybe I'll need to speak to. But most of the property developers we've spoken to and we have spoken to are registered with Zia. But I'm always asking them this question, like, right? I think when I look at the legislation that covers estate agents, I think if someone really insisted that had the manpower to fight them in court, I'm not sure they would come
100%
out.
100% agree with you.
They would come out winners. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
Go on.
Yeah. So then we also provide different business support services. Right now we have a product called Contaire Store. So we have clients who use our product and for 1 month we tailor it for their, usually it's retail clients, people who own retail stores, and we tailor it to meet whatever needs they need, from employee management.
What type of turnover or revenue should they be doing that it would work for them?
It would work for. So the goal is to get as many people on it as possible. So even if you're doing 20,000 a month,
okay,
it would still be affordable for that person, because we charge roughly about $120, which is about 4,000 kwacha for the initial.
Don't charge in dollars.
But Kaidimweya is sure. So I want people to get the context.
I understood from the dollars, so I appreciate the dollar.
So I want I want your international viewership to understand what kind of cost it is. Yes.
Yeah.
So about $120, and then from there on about $20 per year.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Just $20 per year.
Yes, just $20 per year.
So
that's really good.
Yeah, so the goal is to get as many people using it. We have several clients at Arcades, Agora. Yeah, so
any type of retail business?
Yes, any type of retail. We have Chris, who particularly looks into a client and gives them a first iteration, and then we work with them over a month until we get something tailored. But what's been happening now is that after the first initial clients, it's become much easier to tailor. So the system also has like a point of sale platform, and the only other fee is that if you have a particular bank and you want us to connect the system to the particular bank, we charge for that. You email your bank, you keep us in copy, we speak to the IT team, and we connect to their API.
How long does it take to implement the system?
So what we find is clients will say, I like it just the way it is. But then after some time, they'll call us, can you do this for me? Can you tailor it? So usually that's why we say 30 days. So any changes within the first 30 to 90 days, we generally do it for free. So the hope is not to make money from one client.
That's right.
But
not to butcher one
not to
client.
butcher one client. Yeah. And
so that's from one contract.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we'll add a link as well. We'll do a link to that.
Okay.
And then we'll take 100 of the $120. No, we'll add a link so people can learn more about the
we'd
product
appreciate
as well.
that.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We revert to the Chanda issue.
Yes.
The education sector that you're into now. My question is, what is the highlight now of this project you're on?
So I think Chanda will be for now our major highlight, and where we're focusing. for Chanda itself, we want to focus on the soft skill for the students. They will be able to like use it for like the normal O-level education. It will give them that, re-emphasizing on their reading, on their math skills.
Yeah.
They can take a grade 7 practice exam on the platform and get their results immediately. And it will generate a different exam automatically every time if they want to try again. So they will be able to use it. But also what we want to focus on is like building, investing on the skill sets that we need in terms of having a young population that's computer literate for the 21st century.
For consuming in the 21st century.
No, we're going to develop. I think also we have to be motivated and give ourselves like really enthusiastic ambitions, right? Like very high ambitions. And
I think the governmental structure beats that out of everyone. That's the problem.
yes,
I'm just going to be a naysayer the whole time here.
no, it's fine.
How do we stop the constraints that we have is kind of what I'm coming at. I know I can see your ambition, but we still have constraints.
I think that the goal should be, for us anyway, the goal is that we do, our most important thing in terms of the government is, are we ZED101 compliant? Are we NAPSA compliant? And Nimana Tulipila. And once we've paid those three, for us we assume that everything else, we will fight it out. And we'll just chat our way through the bureaucracy. But we don't want to imagine it as a limiting factor. It is, but I think government in its nature is designed to be bureaucratic. Some of it for good reason.
This government.
Every government.
This government. No, because, you know, like the UK has similar requirements. You must pay your taxes, XYZ. But they also do a lot to ensure that businesses grow. They want to be seen the center of AI, you know. The UK, it's like AI science,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So they pick a field and they want to be where, if you're going to do business in that area, then you'll do that in the UK, not in America. But here, like we said, we're just consumers.
No, but we can't continue being consumers, and that's the point. So I think
We need to stop hiring government people who were just in government in PF and then move to UNIP and then move to something else and then come into power. These people are not in the best interest of the country's actual commercial growth and development. Sorry, I'm on my own horse there.
no.
And on that note,
It's a good tangent. I mean, the government is part of our day-to-day life. But like my imagination in my little utopia in my mind is that we try to chart a way forward that doesn't need the commercial power of government. And I think that's part of the problem, because if you're going to build a business in Zambia, we try to look for the seminal moment from government. We want that contract. When I get that contract, then, but the problem with that is that then again, your ambition becomes, but not only that, you also leave yourself open to answering to them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's easier.
They don't even know what they're talking about.
The reason trade kings can do what they want is because even if ShopRite and Pick and Pay stopped selling Trade Kings products, they can move product through the community. The community pulls the demand.
100%.
When you walk into these South African stores, right, the prime real estate in those stores is most of the time not covered by Trade Kings products. Yet, they are the highest selling or moving goods in those stores.
Right.
So they've created a movement, right? Whether I know that there are some other side, but they have created a movement. They've created a poor demand that can't be killed. Yeah.
Malam, we've covered mostly a lot of stuff concerning Contaire technology and whatnot, but you touched on a little bit the issue regarding trying to give this product to a school like in Mansa.
Yes, in Mansa.
All right.
Yeah.
The issue of data scarcity. All right. Data challenges, internet access. You want to do a product which is ready, isn't it? Isn't that what you're saying?
Yes.
Ready. So when you approach government with this, because government won't come looking for it, you've got this in China. Unless your counselor is really, really well connected to start doing that work for you and with you. How do you intend to circumvent this problem?
In terms of demand?
In terms of overcoming limited internet access? Because even here in Lusaka, we have problems.
We have problems with internet. So I think the goal also, like, we'll provide, as depending on the unique capabilities of the school, we can allow that school to have a mini data center that connects through a WLAN service, and then have the overall unit then connecting to us, so that even in times when they're offline, the system can work. But of course, as you know, in software development, we're always updating. Security will become a far more important feature, right? As AI automates attacks. So we'll always need to have some access to the internet. But on the data heavy side, we can still give a school some data that's stored and processed right at their center. The funny thing, like we found, I don't know if I've mentioned it earlier, is that I've found that the universities are more interested in the product. And so now, I think the last time we spoke, we had 2 who were signing up to us, to using the back end. And with the universities, that's what happens. We still use their skin, and we apply it behind their website. So whoever is visiting the university will see it as, and if it was UNZA, they would see it as UNZA. But then when they go into looking at the assignments, looking at the videos produced by their lecturers, then it would be using the Scootable software. Yeah, so it's possible. If there's a school anywhere in remote Zambia, would love to have them on. And even those who are in remote areas, I think would benefit even from the lowest iteration of the version, just because our rural communities, in terms of education, are underserved, and in terms of exposure as well. Just your child interacting with computers, and even when I speak to parents, I always tell them that you're better buying your children a Windows laptop than a phone.
Oh, sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, than a phone.
We thought you were going to say something else.
No, than a
Yes,
phone.
exactly.
Than a phone, because phones are designed to be addictive in a very specific way, right? Even the platforms that we use on our phones, from TikTok, from Facebook, now the younger ones use Snapchat, right?
They are over Snapchat.
They are over Snapchat.
Over Snapchat,
But you see, the thing about it is that even when you look at the way our social media platforms have evolved, right? If you remember, there was a time per Facebook, when you're watching a video, you had to scroll, right? But now, when you play a video, immediately it ends, the other one has already loaded. So they realize that if they do that, people spend 3 to 4 times more on the phone. Yeah, and those who started, I believe, were Snapchat. I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
They were the
you're
first
right.
to do it. And then everybody else was like, they're stealing our screen time.
You want to wrap it up before I say something?
No,
No, go ahead,
wrap it up.
please.
No.
So, in wrapping up our conversation on AI or machine learning, our Minister of Technology disclosed that Zambia is among the few countries that have developed an AI strategy.
I think
You mean they copy and pasted from somewhere?
Our minister said in a speech
Created a
he was
strategy
given.
based on what?
Yeah.
Eh?
Don't shoot the messenger.
The messenger is being shot.
so. I think the AI strategy in itself is point something % of the work we need to do. 0.00. It's still just. It's still just a document, right? It's just rhetoric. But
Copy and paste.
But what we need to do is really what government needs to do is invest in building the skill set. Yeah, the technological landscape will change. Visually, right, when it gets to the consumer, it may not change much because the platform primarily used seems like it will stick for a long time, which is the cell phone, right? It's our primary platform from which we consume most of this new technology. Doesn't seem it to change much over the next 15 years, but the wearables might come in. But essentially, the wearables will become like miniature phones at the end of the day. So what we need to sort out is be part of developing the new technology and developing also to suit our problems. Sometimes the challenge we have is essentially just taking a Western solution and consuming it here, and it becomes like a serious
That's not
problem.
the challenge. That is the norm. That is all that ever happens.
Okay, that is the norm. That is the norm. So we need to get to influencing what
Yeah.
happens in the back end, and we can only influence that if we are creating, like she said earlier, right? That when the PayPal mafia is essentially a school of white.
Middle-aged white men.
Yeah, middle-aged white men. But don't forget that there were young men at some point.
Tadiko, huyu capital wako anankana. Wasn't he there at some point? Musk, wasn't he PayPal?
Yes,
PayPal,
he is part of the PayPal. He's the richest member, but they're all billionaires, by the way.
Yeah, they are.
They're all billionaires,
Of
right?
course. Can buy
And they're
it.
all influencing. Well,
What-
they're now called the tech oligarchy, basically. They're influencing everything.
Yeah,
you
but
know? Not just technology.
Not just technology. Yeah, and also, luckily, Zuckerberg and
Bezos.
and Bezos are slightly aligned differently, but still, it's still the same.
Yeah.
It's still the same 5-10 people influencing the rest of the world,
100.
deciding. Yeah, because I think probably even what's shocking is that what shocked me is that Peter Thiel is a Trumpian, right? Even though being
Because they've gone where they know they can have influence.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Because Peter Thiel at one point was trying to influence government anyway.
Yes, of
And
course.
now he's
Always.
realized, oh, this is actually a lot easier
This is
than
my
me
chance now.
myself having to run.
No,
You
of
know.
course, of course.
We're shutting down, but Madam, I would like to ask you, I'll ask it on our behalf, where you're found, how we can get hold of you.
So-
you know, like if people are really interested in taking it further.
Yeah, they can. Scootable has a LinkedIn page and a Facebook page.
That one. Tell them.
Oh, I'm at that camera. Yeah, so
This one.
Okay.
Yeah, this one.
This one, okay. So Scootable has a Facebook page. Scootable has a website. And usually when you search Scootable, we are the first
Spell Scootable?
SKU and TABLE. Yeah, so Scootable. Scootable, you can search Scootable, and you can search Contaire Technology. We're in Woodlands.
Okay.
Perfect.
Mademoiselle, your final words.
No.
Your parting shots.
We have only just
Scratched.
scratched a tiny bit of the surface. The conversation could have got a lot deeper. But
And
I think it's important to focus on the area of work that they're doing in Zambia. And, like from there, and we can definitely have other conversations.
Yeah, it would be nice to have a more technical discussion,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I think that's
We should get another person from Smart Zambia.
that would be interesting.
If they will allow him, because
That's the problem. And they're too scared to speak.
No, I think they would allow, because they've
Well, let's work on it then.
Yeah, I think
Another
That's your
episode.
task. Then let us know when you find
find our man,
Okay.
and we'll do the conversation.
All right. From me, A plus.
Out. And our guest.
Thank you.